I represent a very, very ancient, loving, advanced mastery in the galactic groups, and we serve the supreme source, the internal source in many ways. And this is my way to be of service to this planet, to you, to all the species of life here, the animal kingdom, the three nations, the earth, the consciousness here, the waters, everything that grows and expands here.
What does a human being operating at max potential look like for you?
If you look at all of these masters of light, when human being, not if, when human being return to understanding your full capacity and being able to bring that into conscious awareness, practical way, being able to live in that benevolence every day, in that cultivation, the way we see it in the future aspect of the human race is you're going to be reflecting that light of the masters of light.
Viviane Chauvet, welcome on Just Tap In. What are you most excited about right now globally and in your life?
Thank you for this beautiful, warm welcome. I feel already such a natural heart connection with you, Emilio, which I know it's going to transpire to this. Everyone watching, it is definitely going to be an exchange of love and heart. What I'm the most excited about right now for the planet, for Gaia, and for the human beings as a species is finally shifting into a higher, enlightened pathway of re-ascension, the return of multidimensional awareness. I am excited to see beautiful beings known as the Earth humans who have been trapped for so long in a cycle of reincarnation and forgetfulness and disconnect and sometimes despair, and yet hope to return and rekindle with the truth of their deep, beautiful, divine spark of light. And that spark is what we see emanating in your living aura, and this living light that human beings have. And we can see it. Gaia can feel it. All life here is affected by it. So I am excited as an observer, as an ambassador, as an ET being sharing the compassion aspect of the human race for the return of the higher capacity, your capacity for love, your capacity for true compassion, your empathic empowerment, your sovereignty as spiritual divine beings. I'm excited to navigate through that re-ascension path with all of you. And it's reflecting in my life as my life work, my life's passion. This is where I am on the planet. I have no need to be here, really. I have no karma to work from or lineage to resolve. I have done that a long, long time ago. But I chose to return in a very, very specific way that will allow me to retain the purity of another aspect of my I am presence while being here and being able to live this most profound historical shift that is affecting the multiverses, everything. And that's what I'm excited for.
Beautiful. And I asked you off air if this was your first lifetime on Earth. And basically you told me that you've been here a few times, very few that you can remember, but you only come back in historical timelines for the Earth and for humanity. Why do you feel this one in particular, your soul chose to be here as an Arcturian hybrid being? What's the significance of this time?
The significance is this opportunity for the entire planet to return to its original celestial self. And in our thousands of years of history and evolutionary cycles that we've gone through, one thing we can tell you, that a planet is sacred. And when Gaia re-entered the potential timeline of where finally she'll be able to shift out of an old dimensional system called the third density, polarization, duality, energies, dynamic disconnect from the higher octave of the universe. And then her consciousness sent out a signal and we received that signal. When I volunteer, I told the Arcturian High Council and our Council of Elders, I feel like as an oracle and as an ambassador, then I want to be assigned to the Earth quadrant. I want to return to the solar system in a way that I can really hold the purest form of light frequency and transmission that will be an anchor point on the planet. So we thought, how are we going to go about this? Because Arcturians were more ethereal than we are physical. And because we are very ancient, very, very ancient sentient group consciousness, we have transcended the physicality and duality and all of it. We maintain ourselves in a higher resonance field. So how can we bring one of our ambassadors back into a planet that was still functioning and still to this point in a very stepped down, compressed, polarized frequencies in all dimensional system while retaining a pure connection and being able to transmit these very specific experiential information and light codes while experiencing the profound aspect of what an Earth human being is in this timeline, not what it was 1,000 years ago or 700 years ago, what it feels like to be right now. And so we came up with a higher solution that is very rare for us. You have to understand that we never embody the physical form of another species. We retain in our original form and we interact with the planetary system we're assigned to or the planet we come to help, to assist in their evolution process. But this time, there's so much at stake in the sense that the opportunity is so immense that we felt it would be more effective for me to be physically on the planet in a vessel that you can relate to. The goal was never to create any fear, resistance, or, separation of walls of resistance. The goal was to bring one of us in a way that you can relate, you can feel the warmth, you can feel the love, you can feel a presence, yet something different. And there's something also so tangible, relatable. And I can go through very specific human experience, what it feels like to go back to school. We're learning to talk. We're learning to learn the ABCs, relationship dynamics, the pressure of the family, cultural background, societal, everything that contained this biosphere of experiences that you call the third density. So we want to maximize and bring my consciousness here. So we came about and utilized our very advanced mastery of light frequencies and holographic technology to create or bioengineer a physical form, a template. And then when the template was ready, so to speak, to make it very simple, then an aspect, a fragment of my consciousness entered the template. And this is what you call I was born or returned to the planet. And it was very specific, Emilio, the way we return. I had to come back in a point on the planet where it will be a little bit more behind the scene, more quiet, so I can adapt, readjust, so I can feel that, I understand. We see how the vessel is evolving, my physical body. How am I adjusting in my ET consciousness into the human consciousness? And so we chose a very specific point in the timeline that you will call a time, a date, and a year. And that was my point of reinsertion onto the planet. And this is where I've been. I've been here ever since that point of reinsertion. And I've continued my beautiful Earth mission. And when the time comes and I have done what I've come to fulfill, because I'm very dedicated to what I do, then I will simply return to my Arcturian collective. And from there, I might choose to go beyond the Arcturian identity. I may choose to return into pure consciousness and serve the prime creator in different octaves, in different ways. That will be when I return. But for now, I represent a very, very ancient, loving, advanced mastery intergalactic groups, and we serve the supreme source, the internal source in many ways. And this is my way to be of service to this planet, to you, to all the species of life here, the animal kingdom, the tree nations, the earth, the consciousness here, the waters, everything that grows and expands here. It is an incredible planet. And we're here for the love of Gaia. You can feel that, right?
Our world is shifting faster than ever, and it's so easy to feel small in the middle of all of this. Imagine being part of a movement, a tribe that is not just talking about the change, but actually living it. That's why I created The Deep Dive, a living spiritual ecosystem where every single day we go on a journey to remembering our most authentic self. Our members have joined from all walks of their awakening, and it's been such a blessing to witness all of the soul relationships that are already forming. As a community, we start every day with simple, powerful activities, and we're beginning to start envisioning the kind of world that we want to experience. This is way more than exclusive content or just another spiritual Netflix. This is about integration and leaving behind a legacy. If you're ready to move beyond knowing into becoming, then visit the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen right now to learn more. I'd be honored to co-create history with you. When I hear your story, it's beautiful because it reminds me a lot of the blockbuster movie Avatar. Where Jack Sully and they created a body so that he could interact with this species of the blue beings, again, blue beings. So tell us a little bit about, in that way, when you say that your body was engineered with the technology, advanced technology of the Arcturians, what was that process really like in terms of the birth stage for your mother? Because I know you do have human parents here in this lifetime. What was that process like?
Well, as a higher dimensional Hiti being in this engineered physical form, you have to think that my birth was very untraditional. So the other aspect that I chose and I requested for my delegation is that I wanted to have a deeper connection to the planet. And to do that, we required some aspect of human genetic lineage to bring that into the template. So because Arcturians, we are benevolent and master of light beings, frequencies, and we have a non-interference philosophy. What we do is that we make contact, we approach. So we make contact into a very specific genetic lineage, human lineage that started a long time ago. So you look at the ancestral part of the lineage, we start to establish slowly a point of contact to understand at one point of their genetic evolution will be the perfect point of, how could I say that, extracting with consent in loving agreement. How can we bring an aspect of that DNA and incorporate that DNA into our own within the engineer aspect of the template? So think of it this way. It's like a very advanced hologram capable of sustaining bioengineered systems with organs, body systems, everything. And in a consciousness where my consciousness re-entered a template, we have to readjust to see if there was a vibrational alignment. In other words, we have to see to make sure that the body was viable. And the body at the beginning was not viable because there was too much discrepancy between this very advanced aspect of our genome. Our DNA is packed with memo groups that the human race not quite there just yet. So we have to make sure that we utilize the most compatible genetic material from that beautiful interaction, partnership, communications, agreements along that specific lineage until the one soul reincarnate, and that one soul was chosen for her very advanced capacity. My human mom is very gifted but she's very behind the scenes. She will never talk about it, and I respect that. But she was chosen for her extreme advanced conscious capacity, intuitive faculties, and her genetic, the way it has evolved, was as compatible as it can be. So because we have the technology and we have also the aid of the Andromedans who are master at structures, and they are really expert at creating new form of dimensional structures and all of it, we were able to integrate the very specific aspect of just enough genetic information that can allow me to relate. And that was think of it this way, my cord of connections to the earth. And that cord of connection allows me to really understand what it feels like in your day-to-day life to be human. It has allowed me to immerse myself in a human consciousness and understanding from a timeline perspective, because we speak of time as timeline, not linear time. So that particular timeline, we understood it will have a lot of challenges and pushback to our presence on the planet. So we have to make sure that everything was super synchronized. Everything is beautifully chosen, carefully, consciously, to make sure that there's no disruption in the timeline at the same time that I can adapt. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is that when I finally was returned to the planet, because I was not born on the planet, I came about on my Arcturian father's mothership. We have to use our own technology. Otherwise, the mission would have failed right at the beginning. And sure enough, 3 months after my return to the planet, the body was dying. My physical form was not sustaining the discrepancy in my ET, higher dimensional ET consciousness, with the hybrid form, and then was not responding well to oxygen flow here on the planet, food, digestive system, immune system. The body was not responding well. So we have to return. I went back to my ship, to my father's ship, and we have to do other measurement to stabilize the physical form. And after that, it's been a very, very slow process. So it took me, I would say, 18 years to adapt physically to the planet, to really stabilize myself. The first 18 years, or what you call your linear age time, 18 years.
Yeah. And the first 18 years, but I know that in your 20s, you were guided to understand how healing is perceived in this realm. What did you learn about healing in this realm?
One thing that I found fascinating about the concept of healing is how much here in this reality, human beings are encouraged to be disconnected from decoding the language of their body to even understand the synergy between soul-body connection that makes a huge impact, how your emotional, energetic intelligence and your mental faculties has also a huge impact on the quality or the non-quality of your health, and how your body is constantly finding solution to repair or readjust itself, or even keep up with the demands of that emotional heaviness and all these complex thought forms that overburden your field. In addition to that, what I found fascinating is also that someone outside of yourself needs to tell you, how does it feel inside? What is the point of origin of that physical symptoms or that persistent loop? Or, whether it's something that you've been experiencing all your life, like asthma or digestive system issues or energetic imbalances. But as specialists, and everything seems to focus on a radius, a very specific domain, disregarding the entire ecosystem. And I found that very fascinating. And I have to understand it with compassion, why that structure is like this. So you look at the medical field, and everything has been put in place to disconnect you from something the most natural gift there are. There's more natural ability, and that is your natural understanding of how your unique body systems, whether it's your nervous system, how your chakra system communicates on a multidimensional level, how your intuitive centers communicate on the universal, how you communicate to the planet, how you're being affected by the thought, the energy, the vibration coming through this planet. So instead of teaching all these very basic form of knowledge right at a young age, you're encouraged the opposite, is eat well, exercise, and put the emphasis on the physicality, but without a conscious assisted energy behind it. And we say the soul body needs to be in alignment, because you can eat as healthy as you want. You can go to the gym, walk every day, and I'm getting big orb of lights as I'm speaking with you right now. So my team is in agreement. You can really put a lot of energies of maintaining your physical form. However, if there's a lack or disconnect at a soul level, or a resistance for you to accept this physical life or to be on the planet, there's huge nutrients that the body needs from the soul. That light connection must be there. It's not just what you're doing physically. So this is part of the understanding of what this is coming from. And this is generations of programming, disconnect, stepping down. So human beings overall have been in the past functioning at minimal potential, minimal. Our role is to help you re-understanding the full spectrum of all that you are, but without distortion. Mm-hmm. That's part of the healing process as well.
What does a human being operating at max potential look like for you?
Look at all the masters of light, Kuan Yin, the master of compassion, Master Buddha, who have helped me a lot in my life to remind me of what universal joy and the power of it. Master Sananda, that you know on this planet mostly by Master Jesus or Yeshua. We know him as Master Sananda. Master Sanat Kumara, who is in charge of this beautiful etheric retreat known as Shambhala, and so forth and so forth. If you look at all of these masters of light, when human being, not if, when human being return to understanding your full capacity and being able to bring that into conscious awareness, practical way, and being able to live in that benevolence every day, in that cultivation, the way we see it in the future aspect of the human race is you're going to be reflecting that light of the masters of light. And eventually the human race in that aspect of full operating in full awareness, multidimensional awareness, living your living knowledge, being in complete alignment with yourself and all life and reverence for all life, you're going to be teachings, other intergalactic group that comes from different interdimensional space, places in the multiverse you have no memory of. They'll come to you to understand, what is this aura energy? We want to learn, because that civilization may come to you and says, we have lost that connection, that spark connection, and we want to know what is the point of origin of the universe. And we feel that you have the answer. And you would say, come, we'll teach you. We'll show you what it feels like, because we have gone through thousands of years of evolution, coming from a point of complete descendant into retracting into minimum potential, separating, feeling despair, grief, all of it, to the point of we have returned to complete potential. And now we understand that we are all part of everything. And we will teach you the pathway. That's the potential we see for human beings.
Mm. And through an Arcturian lens or understanding, what is that point of origin of the universe that you just briefly touched on?
When we talk about the point of origin of the universe, it's a point of reference that just illustrate the understanding that we are all part of the one-dimensional aspect of the prime creator. If you look at the analogy of a tree of life, and we love to use that analogy because it can relate to any philosophies in this world, and we can visualize a beautiful tree of life. So imagine for a moment this ultimate tree of life The tree of life is the oneness of all. It's everything. It's omnipotence, omnipresence. It's the all there is that we hear a lot about, or what we call the supreme creative force of all, or the prime creator, internal source. So that's the one dimension of all, that tree of life. Within the tree of life, there's different structures of branches and sub-branches that the prime creator expand, learn. It's all about experiential. This is how the soul learn. This is how the soul develop. It's experiential energies, movement, interactions. So the tree of life in itself, even though it is still the one ultimate tree of all, has a multitude of sub-branches. And each the branches may be a plane of existence. One plane of existence may represent a multitude of dimensional experiences or dimensional systems designed for that fractal of the prime creator to experiment different aspects. Whether it's remaining formless in pure consciousness, I've seen that. Whether it's to experiencing some form, like a group like the Antares, they primarily vibrate on a 7th dimension and above. They like to maintain themselves in higher resonance. So physically, they're not really physical being, but more these beautiful ethereal beings who still have a conscious understanding of who they are within our global consciousness as Antares. We know because we work with them quite a bit. And when you expand into these branches, a different plane of existence, we have different purpose. And then the branch that we're in right now, it's called the plane of physical expression. This is part of Blu-ray. So that plane of physical existence has a multitude of sub-branches interweaving into itself. And along the way, there's this tiny branch within a place you call the Milky Way, a little tiny branch. And that tiny branch is your solar system with all the other celestial beings known as planet. And then here goes Mother Gaia. So all the souls coming to that tiny branches within that big branch of the plane of existence have come to understand what the self-identity means, what it means to have a lower self, and then return in memory to return into your higher self and the reconciliation between. It's a place where we can come and learn from karmic lessons, learn from other branches or other lifetimes or soul cycles, as we call it. And you come and we learn. Are you still part of the ultimate tree of the one-dimensional aspect of the prime creator? Yes, of course you are. But when you are in that tiny branch on a planet, living your life every day, to you, you look around you, you look at the stars, you look at the intergalactic beings, you understand the celestial presence, masters of light. This is form your reality. But your reality is still within this ultimate tree of life. I hope that makes sense if we explain it that way.
It does. And I love that you brought up the lower self and the higher self. The way I see it is like the animalistic versus the divine. And there is this merger of the two in this dimension, in this physical expression of reality. But at what point does a species or even a planet say, we no longer need to learn from the lower self, and it begins to shed maybe those layers of the lower self and embody greater aspects of its divinity?
Yes, what you speak of, Emilio, it's part of the re-ascension. It's the re-ascending into a higher state of multidimensional awareness about yourself. There's a shedding of a certain form of identity. Look at the mental construct. Just the complexity of the human mind and the human construct. You have the conscious mind that tells you what reality is about. It affects your perception, your perspective, how you learn, how you relate, how you communicate, how you feel your place, not only on this planet, in this world, but within the multiverses and even beyond. That if you look at different aspects of the mental construct, you would say the house of ego. Well, it serves a purpose. The house of ego will bring you, where you talk about the lower me identity, we call this the third dimensional personality self. It's where it's the instinctual mind. This is where there's a lot of story stuck, emotions, trauma, where there are shock patterns. Everything is very much encoded. And in turn, it's going to affect different part of the cognitive faculties of the brain. Again, minimal, instinctual, reactiveness, survival. Once you start to shed those aspects, you're opening different aspects of your brain abilities. Then higher consciousness really opens up. So the more your awareness or your consciousness open, your body structures evolves with you, meaning higher function of the brain, different part of the brain lobes. You start to release the reptilian part of the brain, that is the instinctual, reproduction, food. I need to protect myself. It's the me, my territory. As long as I'm fed, I'm good. That's instinctual. And you need to release that to move into a more global conscious to see that your presence, what you do every day, what you think, how you feel, how you eat, the way you breathe affect the entire ecosystem. You start to re-understanding that there's a global planetary aspect to you. And you start to open that up. That means your frequencies start to become more refined. What you generate, what you radiate, the glow, we can start to see, there are different stages. Now we can introduce certain concept or knowledge. Now we can start to feel, we can help the earth to bring the next level of frequencies. Or there's a dimensional shift, and we look how the adaptability or the response of it is. So to your point is everything becomes an invitation to realize, where am I? Where am I vibrating? Where am I consciously invested? This is going to be very important moving forward because the earth has shifted. She's no longer in the same dimensional timeline. There's been a shift recently. And that means that it's going to ask all of us to reattune consciously the symptom, physical, your nervous system, your emotional responses. Are you allowing your cognitive faculties expanding? How you relate, how you speak, everything. So yes, everything becomes a beautiful invitation to understand, where am I right now? And what is it I am most affected by? And again, you have to look within your own internal system. Am I still oscillating between those instinctual responses that makes me feel more safe and comfortable? Because this is too much. The frequency is too high. I cannot go there. Yes, you can. It's just, again, it's allowing with universal compassion, benevolence, with complete self-love. Those keys become master keys of understanding who you are and giving you the gift of ability to say, I have everything that I need within yourself to really succeed and reach and co-manifest your highest timeline, your highest potential. It's been generations of preparation to come to this point. And we are now at that point. I don't know if you feel it already.
I think we all feel it. We all feel
Thank
it
you.
for sure. And I'm curious to know, Viviane, what have you learned about human emotions in the years that you've been here?
That's a profound question, and I appreciate you. The human emotions is one of the most potent energy that you have. In fact, there's many other species who have chosen to evolve to different branches of dimensional evolution or evolutionary cycle. And some of them have gone very deep in technology advancement, but without a consciousness that follows it. Some of them became non-organic or semi-organic and semi-robotic. But one thing that we have observed, one commonality which relate to the human emotion in a moment, one common point we have observed from all of these other species or group consciousness is that at some point in their evolution, they're stopped in their tracks and they realize we feel like we've lost something along the way. So what do? They utilize these technology to look in the timeline. And I'll tell you one planet they find the most is Earth. Earth in the past, Earth in the future self, Earth in your current present position. Why is that? Because the Earth humans or human beings are known for their emotions. And there's something about their emotional capacity, your emotional capacity, that allows you to stay connected to the very fabric of your being and the creator. You are emanating that light emanation, this living light. And those species will come back to what you call your past or your present position in your timeline and want to interact and understand. So in reality, without knowing it, you're teaching these species how to rekindle, how to remember the pathway of organic evolution so they can return to that ultimate tree of light that we talk about. It's all about soul evolution. It's all about returning home, returning to our profound cosmic self. Your human emotions have the capacity to accelerate that evolution or keep you trapped in old stories, keeping you trapped in mechanism and repeating some historical loops. I'll give you a prime example, if I may.
Yes.
As you know, we talked about it before we went live. I just recently came back from the south of Germany when I hosted one of my annual retreat with the Arcturian University members. The goal of going to Germany, the calling that I received from the Arcturian Council, was to extract a depleted morphogenetic field. And that morphogenetic field is an old blueprint that still keeps soul, a generational of soul, trapped into the old mechanism of fear, loss, war, the war energy, World War II. You would be surprised how much these mechanism was so strong that entrapment, it was a quantum release within the field. And we have succeeded, and I've seen it on many levels. So that emotional component, how traumatic and impactful that timeline has been on the Earth history, has even to this day, we're still creating an echo chamber, an entanglement of emotional attachments, even for generations who have gone well beyond the concept of war. But it was an echo in their genetic markers on the ancestral level, to their grandparents, through the imprint in the land. Even the Tree Nations, to their roots, they remembered. Because the moment I arrived there physically, they start talking with me. So I knew what we were looking at. So our goal was to come there with a group of light-minded people. Well, we came together with the intention to release this quantum entanglement around that very old historical timeline and to be able to allow evolution to come through. So there's no longer a transmission of that same loop coming, soul incarnating after soul incarnation over and over. They were prevented from evolving. And we did that just about a month ago.
Wow. And I know right now that you're based in Arizona, which you've said holds one of the most ancient grid networks on the planet. And that when you tune into it, you can access timelines, memories, and records that span far beyond the present age. And you've also said in another interview that shortly after that you arrived there in Arizona, you had an experience where you were transported to the golden age of Egypt. And I just want to compare for a moment, in a sense, that you just experienced in Germany a very negative timeline with the remnants of a world war. What was it like experiencing a timeline of a golden timeline in ancient Egypt, and how that gave you maybe a different perspective about where we're headed as a species?
Indeed, Egypt played another role, because today's Egypt, I was there physically on site 2 years ago, and we went through many temples. And one thing I've shared also previously, but it's good to be reminded right now, is how the coexistence of the distorted step down frequency of Egypt is still coexisting with the unified Egypt. So you think about think of it this way, there's two parallel timelines that coexist. And so when we arrived, we as my collective and we come, and I set foot in Arizona, right away, the consciousness of the grids here show me the timeline of the golden age of Egypt, what's called a unified Egypt. And what does it mean, a unified Egypt? It's that right after the fifth cycle of Atlantis, when the flame of ascension was taken through Egypt at the early stages with the school of mystery, with the high priest, the high priestess, intergalactic being would coexist peacefully with the Egyptian at the time. There was not a big deal to talk to Syrians or to see blue beings walking through the temple, working with the high priest about recreating crystal technology for healing frequencies. The goal was to usher Gaia, or this planet, to continuing into a higher organic timeline of evolution where the coexistence with other interdimensional beings, with the human race, would be very daily life, part of your day-to-day. So that a lot of teaching was brought from the stars to, in terms of organic advanced technology, conscious teachings, new harmonic of teachings, and also installing new way of building, whether it's temple, whether it's irrigations, whether it's agriculture. So that beautiful coexistence was again very natural until the distortion came, and then there was a split in the timeline, or a fracture in the timeline. And then that aspect of the unified Egypt was pushed out of alignment, and slowly over time, Egypt sunk deeper into that fragmentation. So when I originally arrived almost 20 years ago now to Arizona, right away my holographic light body consciousness was taken. I traveled right away in the speed of thought in that unified timeline, and I understood that eventually we're going to help to reunify, to rebalance, to realign those two-dimensional timelines together, to be able to heal the distortion that has taken over for generations. And when I physically, personally was there, just the mini temple, the moment we enter on site, the guardians of time will come talk to me, or interdimensional presence will come and ask me. They asked me the same question no matter where we were, was what happened to this place? This is not how we remember that timeline. And I had to explain to these guardians, or an aspect of the higher fifth dimensional frequency of the Hathor or other intergalactic groups, so remember the unified timeline, that is as part of the distortion that we're here to come and help to heal. So this is why I knew from a long time that I had to come back and return to the desert. And I had to live in a place where the sun was very predominant, because the solar energy is also helping to rejuvenate and balance my physical form. And as an Arcturian, we are very close to the great central sun. So that luminosity for us is a way to rejuvenate ourselves, to keep it simple. So living in a place where it's sunny, intense sun all the time, it's been incredible to accelerate my evolution and the maintenance of my physical form as well. I hope I answered the question.
Definitely. And I'm curious also, what would you say is the root of those distortions that started coming up in ancient timelines and that are coming up again? Are we on the brink of another fracturing of the timelines right now? How do you see it in that way?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So I want to go back a little bit again, back in Egypt. It's something I personally experienced, feet on the ground. And there was one temple, and I forgot the name because we went to so many. But one of the temple in particular, I remember entering, and we had a large group, and it was, a scholar and guys talking about their Egyptian history. And I honor that. But my Arcturian father in my group says, you're not here to listen to that history. There's something we want you to show you. So I exited the temple, and it was like an inner chamber outside. You can still be within the temple, but just on outside. And it was like a substructure. You can walk all around. And on the walls, there was a lot of history scripted right there on the wall. And one thing that I knew, because when I stood there, aspect of the Galactic archive came back to me, and my memory reawakened. So at some point, there's a conjunction that took place in the timeline during ancient unified Egypt. And other intergalactic groups that are more of serving the self. They're more in the polarity aspect of their evolution. Came to the planet and saw the potential of what these Egyptian human beings were. They saw the potential of what's put in place. They could see too the timeline potential of where this planet were headed and the resources here. And so there was a conflict between the enlightened spiritually galactic groups who are here to support humanity, to live peacefully with you, to help you to teach, evolve, take your rightful place in this beautiful galactic community and even beyond. And there are those who prefer to use you for self-purposes, utilizing your light, harvesting on your emotions, playing on your instinctual mind, fear, energy, sensitivity, and looking at the potential that you carry in your DNA. If you were to reach that potential, you would no longer be able to be manipulated as easily because you will know and you will have the knowledge and the understanding of how to counteract this. So on this wall, I saw written that history where these intergalactic group coming from other timelines, again, more serving of the self rather than service to others, the polarity and the pendulum swing of negativity in the polarity of I utilize, I serve what you can do for me, came and says, we want to enslave humanity. And we say, oh, no, there's no enslavement here. It's just empowerment, sovereignty, teachings, evolution, the bioenergy of oneness. And there was a conflict. And then I was pulled back out of the galactic archive and returned to my body. And my Arcturian father says, take a deep breath, because I can feel in your heart, you're very engaged. And I experienced, and my heart was pouncing hard in my chest, because I can feel, no enslavement. No, we can't allow that. And I was pulled back on that memory and I was returned to my body. So that's what happened. It's more complex than that. I'm just summarizing based on what I saw. It's written all over the temples. If you really stop to listen to it and read and let the imprint of that history that is still vibrant be revealed to you, you'll see. There's been a distortion, and at some point, then the planet descended even deeper in the third density. And then we're here to restore and return and release ourselves from that. But in a very simplified way, that's part of the reasons.
Have you had the opportunity to go back into the galactic archives and witness or study what happened after there was that friction between the service to self beings and the service to others beings? How did that play out? And is that still playing out in this timeline where we are right now?
Indeed, it does. Now, on a higher level, on a more divine design level, we have to understand that everything is unfolding for a purpose. Everything is serving, whether it's allowing maybe younger soul or other species who have disconnected themselves from Creator to relearn again what it feels like to be the oppressor and the oppressee. There's always a learning curve behind it. And so it's very complex how this planet has been declared as a perfect terrain to help to learn from what polarity, fragmentation, physical incarnation, embodying an identity that we call the lower self or the 3D personality self. It was a chance to start to remembering what these lessons are. What is the opportunity to rise again? What is the opportunity to start to connect with this new blueprint of relationship to yourself, the planet, your history, and even the intergalactics and beyond? So there's been a lot of help, support, whether it's through the many, many councils of light, the Star Regency Council. There's a lot of support that has been shown and provided to the planet ever since to help to return and release that. And there's many souls who reincarnate from different star systems, like Orion, who come to return to heal and learn the lessons, so they can also evolve and shift out of that polarity. I don't know if you ever heard of that Lyran teaching tool that's called the reintegration, the 0 point of shifting into a positive polarity to a negative polarity and into a point of integration. Where you are at that point right now in the timeline is a time to return into complete integration again. And this is why we call it the re-ascension process. You're re-ascending more and more in consciousness and frequencies and realization, in breakthroughs, which has nothing to do to rely heavily on technology and AI and other tools that think for you. It has nothing to do with that. We've seen the same pattern in other timelines. So Gaia right now is moving out of what we call the middle timeline. Okay? The middle timeline is where all the souls have been allowed to learn, whether it's from other past lives, on a galactic level, on this planet, whether it's a time of Egypt, a lot of souls have returned, whether it's to heal the conflict between Lemuria and Atlantis, or whether it's to heal what took place in the time of Babylonia or ancient Greece, Sumeria. There's a lot of these patterns or the mechanism of historical timeline that's returned now to be brought to the surface, understood with universal compassion, and being able to reintegrate them into a 0 point. This is what's called utilizing this living knowledge. And that living knowledge is what allows you to finally set yourself free from the enslavement of the mind and all these concepts put in the field, whether it's Egypt or other time. Egypt is just a point of reference. And we see that the same pattern repeating today, even in today's Egypt, and the government oppressing the population and oppressor-oppressee. Let's clear that old mechanism. Let's heal ourselves and reclaim your spiritual sovereignty.
I know that the Arcturians are highly advanced technologically, and you even say that there are very advanced ships, Arcturian ships in proximity to Earth that are here to observe, to witness, to assist. I'm curious to know if you've tuned into that history of the Arcturian civilization. To what was that breakthrough of their technology that accelerated their evolution even more? Because right now we're putting artificial intelligence as like, this is the next breakthrough for humanity. I personally don't think so. What other, you mentioned the word 0 point, and I'm curious to know if in anything in the technology of the Arcturians that is involved within that. But I'd love to just hear if you know of any of those breakthroughs that you came across.
Well, it's a great question, because if you look at our own evolution as a species, Arcturians, we are millions of years old. So we have learned from early stages of, one or two, whether it's imposing our will on others, whether it's maybe interfering unvoluntarily into the process of a species evolution. And we see the ripple effect. The Syrians know a great deal about that. The Syrians carry a lot of Syrian starseed carry of guilt around sharing knowledge and technology that serve to other planets destroying themselves. We've seen other species where they incorporate too quickly the knowledge of others, but without a conscious maturity to understand what they have, and has led to destructions. And within the universal archive, the destruction of a planet is a great, a beautiful tragedy. It can have thousands of years of distortion. Millions of souls have to learn from it. And we have witnessed that. There was a long, long time where we had an outpost in one of the planets in a solar system. We were sharing this outpost with another species, another intergalactic group. And we were at the south, and the other group were in the north. And we established a colony. We're establishing our technology there. And we lived there. And we forgot about it. And it stayed there for many thousands of years. It came to the point where there was a disconnect between the other outposts and ourselves. Disagreement came about. We're no longer in sync in the purpose of serving the highest and the greatest good of the planet. It was not populated. It was one of the original planets. And still, the potential of this planet was huge to host ecosystem. Eventually, it led to change the ecosystem, the face of this planet, to a point that both outposts has to be evacuated. And the planet shifted into a lower dimensional space, or what we call a lower dimensional system. So in the archive, in our own Arcturian spherical archives, that point in our history has been a turning point of understanding that when we come and want to help or support or assess how a planet will be terraformed according to consciousness of a species, it has to be approached with the utmost respect, always utilizing the universal protocols. This is why today, many thousands of years later, we understand the implication of what it is to interfere in the evolution of a species or even a star system. This is just one example of what we have learned. So our technology is reflecting the mastery of our consciousness. So for example, if I take just my Arcturian father's mothership, he's in command. It's a beautiful ship. I love to go back there. It feels like home more.
Take me with you next time. Take me with you.
You got it. I can feel your heart is in alignment. There's many ways you can come with us and experiencing a real Arcturian eating chambers. We have a way to rejuvenate our holographic template and really helping you to, live in vibrancy without interfering in your evolution, though, but still we can do that. So if you look at just the mothership of my Arcturian father, we have other species who serve on board. They have Arcturians, but we also have beings or sentient life form that comes from different places or represent different nations. To you, they would be very weird looking, but to us, it's just an aspect of Creator serving in that form. And so we coexist together in unity consciousness. Our ship is organic as much as it has advanced other form of technology that is still unknown to this planet. And we will keep it this way to preserve and protect Gaia and you. But one thing I can tell you is the mastery of our mind has no equal, in the sense that the pilot, the navigators who are in command of this immense vessel of great power, and we can defend ourselves if we need to. We have the ability to project our thought form with precision in any points in a space-time continuum and realign with the consciousness of the ship alongside with other form of technology and bring the ship right in that precision moment. So the advance of our mental faculties is partially what we wish to see unfolding on the planet for all of you. It's a returning into the higher mastery of the mind in connections to your heart, in connections to your soul. This is why you really step into your self-mastery. We have achieved that, but we have learned from past mistakes, like this outpost story that I just shared with you. Mm. So it's thousands and thousands of years of evolution, interactions with a multitude of species, life forms. We are part of many councils. We are part of the alliances of worlds. We are partially part of the ones who are also overseeing the evolution of this quadrant. We're constantly monitoring what's coming in and out of the solar system. And one thing we want to clarify, there's always movement in your solar system. Always. There's always a solar storm or a solar plasma burst or an alignment of the planet. The planet that you call Saturn or Uranus or Mars or Venus are conscious beings in the form of a planet. They communicate with each other On a quantum level, they communicate constantly. They understand very well the movement of the timeline for Gaia. They understand the energy of what's happening, unfolding on the planet. So they constantly realign themselves, and they are very supportive of your evolution. So there's always object coming into your field or into the low orbit of the Earth or in proximity of Jupiter or in a corridor of Saturn, or there's always a meteor or something. There's always movement. What is nothing new? What is new is your conscious capacity now to identify and realize of those movements in the solar system. But we are here along with other enlightened groups who are really monitoring what's coming in and out of the solar system. So there's a lot of support. You're never alone. Never. I know you can feel that right now in your heart. You're always surrounded.
I know that for sure. I wanted to ask you, if we take a trip down recent history lane, there was a moment in time when humanity made a few breakthroughs with nuclear energy and the atom bomb, Oppenheimer, that story. And it is said that a lot of extraterrestrial beings interfered in that way because of what the nuclear technology implied for the rest of the universe. What would you like to clarify around what happened there and how we were tinkering maybe with technologies that we weren't ready to handle or mature enough?
Oh, thank you, Emilio. I appreciate that. What you speak of, it's a prime example of utilizing on a scientific level or physicist level or alchemical level advanced form of technology without having a consciousness to support it. The issue with that, whether it was in the 1940s or even all the way to today, is that this planet that you know as the Earth or in her consciousness as Gaia, Mother Terra, will never be allowed to be destroyed or altered in a way that it will affect the ecosystem and create radiance of destructions and distortion energies that will affect many, many, many other home worlds, other star systems, other planets, and a multitude of life. That distortion in the fabric of this tree of life will no longer be authorized. So there's been a lot of interference, or I would say guidance. We have interfered, we have interject, and there's not just us, the Arcturians, there's also other beings who have come, send their ship to abort, making sure that the timeline that was being co-created as a result of non-consciousness utilizing dangerous substance, creating potentially a rift in the core of this planet, and even beyond, that there's a decree. That's called the divine court. A decree has been made. And this is where many of us have been allowed to come and interfere and prevent that disastrous branch or that fragment of a branch of a timeline that will go way too far and disrupt the beautiful balance even in the multiverses. This is why there's so many intergalactic groups who are here, all eyes on the planet, more than you realize. And for those who had an agenda of enslavement, manipulation, service to self, and all of it, we address that too. We coach them, we bring assistance, we help them remember that they too are part of this ultimate branch, this ultimate tree of creation. And if they are ready, then we process in that teaching and they're extracted from the planet and we can help them evolve. And they're not where there's other predisposition taking place. But one thing we can say is that this type of non-compassionate approach to shift and damage the planet will no longer be allowed in any shape or form capacity. And the fact that right now Gaia has shifted from that dimensional branch of herself. Think of it as she's releasing that echo of herself. And that echo was, on the third density, my body was prone to bombardment, war, nuclear testing, poison, the ocean, everything. That's part of the middle timeline. Gaia is shifting now into a higher vibrational realignment. That's part of the next dimensional timing frequency for the planet. And that dimensional timing frequency is something that we have known for a very long time. And so what happened there with the nuclear, even in 1947, all around that time, just as a marker in your timeline, had a potential to disrupt that realignment in our national frequency timeline and the timing of the planet. And yes, many of us have interfered and says, no, you're creating disruption that may take thousands of years to repair, that will no longer be allowed. And that's a good news. I don't know if you think about it, but it's a really good news.
It's like, guys, don't play with the fire. Don't play with the fire.
You know, you don't understand it? Let us teach you. May I add a little layer to that?
Of course.
Thank you. We're not the only ones. The advanced Pleiadians, the advanced Arcturian VR, the advanced Andromedan, the High Council of Sirius, the Venusians, and many others have attempted throughout the Earth history at different branches of your timelines, approach those who call themselves the world leaders. We have approached them and we are offered to share our advanced harmonic teachings, to share an aspect of how we have learned as a species to return into complete unity consciousness, advancement for the common good, for the highest good of globe, on a universal level, the common good for yourself, also the advancement of your soul development. We have approached these world leaders everywhere to bring us into that realignment and to teach about how to maintain yourself in a higher octave, how to decode the language of your DNA, how to be able to tune in, to be able to heal yourself, heal the planet, all of this. And guess what happened? We're turned down. We're not interested. We want your technology. And the turn says, you are way too young and you're lacking the emotional intelligence and the multidimensional awareness to understand even where we stand and what our technology is capable of. The technology we have to offer is our knowledge and our wisdom. Access denied. We're not interested in you. Now, as a result of this, it took the middle timeline a little bit further. So at this point of your history, the Earth, you should be already reascended by now. So it kind of took you a little bit further down the path hole, the rabbit hole, so to speak. But that's okay. Because at this stage of where we are, again, no more interference. There's a lot of direct hands-on support. There's an acceleration of the global awareness on the planet. There's a reawakening of your heart center, your compassion. You're reopening this ability within yourself. And so what we have chosen to do is communicate with many of you on the planet. We call point of contact, teachers, meditation, healers. So we say, perfect. The world leaders are in a step-down frequency consciousness. We're going to talk to the population instead. We're going to talk with all of you. And we're going to represent our frequencies, our mastery, our teachings at the point where you need us the most. And that is right now.
Mm. And it's beautiful because you mentioned the world leaders. And as we know, because we have a limited time here on Earth, there will be newer generations that will start stepping into leadership. And you talk a lot about the new cosmic human beings that are arriving right now, the children, the younger generations. How do you see in their energy, in their construct, is different from maybe generations that have been here on the planet before, that maybe in that sense have focused on the money, the greed, just wanting the technology instead of the consciousness? Are the children does it give you any hope of the new cosmic human beings that are stepping forth on the planet right now?
Absolutely. We honor every star child who has ever set foot on this planet through a many generational timeline. So your generations, my generational timeline, those who came in the 40s, who went through all the wars, those who came in the 1800s, leading up, every ancient soul in the form of a star child or a star seed who have returned as a soul group through a very specific generational timeline have been a pioneer, opening the field, anchoring the frequencies, helping to heal with compassion. The challenges is that each generational timeline of souls are facing their generations of challenges. Imagine those in the 1940s who have returned to the planet and a starseed. They bring in the unique frequencies of the star they represent, or the consciousness, the light codes, and they come into the field where it is so oppressed with fear, scarcity, survival mode, broken emotional wound, all of it. So they have to overcome all of it to lead the way. And then the next one come. Oh, it's the revolution of the sexes. Men and women no longer have the same role. We are going all of this. So their challenges is to reestablish where is the balance between the universal principle of the prime creator, how to restore the higher divine feminine with the divine masculine in synergy and integration. Then the next soul generation come, and they come into what's called X factor, the X generation, like in the 80s. It's a place out of time, out of space. They're supporting the previous generations, but they're also the precursor of the next one. So there's a lot of you to look in terms of appreciating each generation of soul groups who have returned with certain purpose and alignment with these timelines. Now, leading up to today, because the souls who are returning today, overall, the global consciousness have reached a much higher level of awakening. You're asking different questions. You're ready to understand your cosmic galactic heritage, or your DNA, all these genetic markers within you. You want to get your place. You want to understand, what is my soul purpose? I want to be of service. There's a rising, a desire. Well, it opened the field for those souls to say, it's great. We come back now with no more veil of forgetfulness. We come with our full conscious understanding of who we are. I can talk to you about who I was in the time of Atlantis, because it will help you to understand who you are. As long as these new children or these star children have the family structure to support them in their evolution, help them to navigate how it feels like to be in this 3D human form. They need strong role model who are conscious, who've done the work, healed the wounds, who are living their life in that benevolence and opening so they can be guided. They don't need to be guided on a star galactic universal level. They need guided to see, how can I reconcile these aspects of my ancient self in this child human form, and how to function here, how to go to school. What does it mean? Then I have to learn something that at a soul level, I know this is outdated, or it's false, it's erroneous. What do you mean I have to force myself to learn that? There's no school structures to help them develop right at the soul level. Encourage them to be the fullness of who they are, rather than to put them under medication and labels. So there's a discrepancy still between the old structures and these new star children coming in and says, well, I'm here to teach you. And I'm starting to work more with them, because we want to encourage the guardians, the parents, those who care for them on the day-to-day level, and even on the educational level, spiritual level, to create structures of support that will allow them to fulfill fully what they come here, as opposed to retract, repress, disconnect, and show sign of behavioral patterns or order that is perceived because there's a misunderstanding of who those souls are. And that's what I see continuing to reharmonize as you are evolving more and more consciously and emotionally as a species. If that makes sense.
The Star Children will have a lot of difficulty if the structures don't catch up with the energy that they're bringing. And it's really up to all of us here to create those new systems or remember the new systems, because, you know, we've been in these ascended states before, and we just need to bring them back, and hopefully it serves them in the highest way possible. Viviane, one of the last things I wanted to ask you today is why the heart center is so important to the Arcturians.
It is important to all of us, and especially for you here on the planet. Your heart center is the gateway of the essence of who you are. Think of it this way. Imagine for a moment that you're tuning into your heart center, the inner chalice of light. It is the ultimate gateway. Your heart energy is one of the most powerful and yes, precious gift you can ever give away. That is what's connecting you to your eternal essence. It is the truth of who you are. It is the return to understand your ability to live in that benevolence, compassionate aspect, to rekindle with the true essence of what the human race is about. You were never designed to be in conflict with each other or to disregard life because you're hurting your own self. You were never designed to engage into these barbaric wars and distortion. You were always designed to hold the original celestial template and being able to live in harmony and utilizing all the potential and everything that is encoded within you. So your heart center, think of it as the ultimate gateway of universal consciousness and connection. This is where you are understanding what this living knowledge is about, or your living aura. This is where you are able to enter into a higher energy solar perception. You're opening your perceptual awareness. You're becoming integrated into your spiritual embodiment rather than retract into the false safety of the third dimensional personality mind or the instinctual mind, and then even spiritual concept become mental concept. You're no longer connected at that level. This is where re-ascension and the embodiment of all that you are, it really is. And the more you cultivate that, practice, live, breathe, become one with it, then we can talk about very advanced universal concept and mathematical formula and talk about our technology and being able to decode any galactic archives you want to know, because you will have achieved that deeper emotional intelligence that comes with that multidimensional awareness. That is the true key of self-mastery. And I know that the potential is there, and we will continue to support that in many ways.
Just as we'll continue to have you back on the show to go even deeper. This has been such a beautiful conversation, Viviane. We end every episode with a segment called The Final Trio, which are some questions that we like to ask at the very end. Before that, where would you send people to connect with you, with the work that you're bringing through for humanity, the Arcturian University? Where would you send people to find you and everywhere that you're available?
Thank you so much for asking. We are here to be of service and to uplift this planet to the next octaves. The best way to find us, everything is on my website. It is called Infinite Healing from the Stars.com. There's a direct link to the Arcturian University. There's also a direct link to my first film called An Arcturian Experience. It is a cinematic journey. It's a love letter to humanity and Gaia. And it is my very first film. And the Arcturian University, think of it this way. It is a sanctuary for universal learning, for soul development, for returning into living in the oneness of who we are. It really is a place of living knowledge, living application, and feel how much it can really supporting you moving forward. All you need to know is, I am ready, I am dedicated, and I am open. So everything is on the website. Always a joy to be with you. Definitely would love to come back and explore different deeper octaves of conversation exploration, going into many ways. You are an incredible host, and I can feel that you are part of the ancient souls return to the planet. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, Viviane. And we'll include all the links in the show notes that you just mentioned. And for these final questions, they're personalized to the guest, to your teachings, what you're bringing through. So I'd like to know the first one: what does it mean to walk in the certainty of your light?
I can see you doing your homeworks, you pay attention.
Always.
I love that.
Always.
You are absolutely incredible, Emilio. So walk in the certainty of your light. If you feel, this is an invitation from all of us. You can feel it as we speak. This is more than just one person talking to you. It's many of us of the Arcturian delegation, even through my Arcturian self, coming and speaking with you. If you feel the resonance, the experience behind that philosophy, that core value of walking in the certainty of your light, is walking in alignment with your divine light. At that point, there's no more space for having fear or other form of step down, paralyzing frequency to enter your field and retract you into that lower potential we talk about and that instinctual response. When you walk in the certainty of your light, you're inviting that light that you are to walk with you. You're starting to walk side by side with confidence, with self-love, self-worth, with your life. You are stepping and rising into the imprint of what this lifetime, this opportunity, you're rising to the occasion. You're walking in the certainty of the light that you are. You can feel that. So it's a really beautiful invitation to embody, embrace, and even return to. You can even take deep breath. Reset your energy. I walk in the certainty of my light. And see how it can serve you every time, everywhere, even in the middle of a very busy, crowded airport. Just remind yourself of it. It becomes a practical tool and a way of living.
Let that be the affirmation of the day for all of us here. And the second question I have for you is, if you could offer humanity one practice to accelerate our awakening, what would it be?
To breathe and to return to a 0 point. The 0 point, what it means is divine neutrality. The less your emotional and mental field is oversaturated with everything that is bombarding this 3D field, social media, news, thoughts, concept, theory. There's a meteor entering the field. Will it be the end of the world? Release yourself from these, fear-based, driven, very hollow energies. And when you are allowing yourself to take several deep breaths, I consciously clear my mental field. Deep breath, reset, return to divine neutrality. You're diffusing all these impactful energy entering your field. And the next thing you know is that it disrupts the connections to your crystalline core, your core of empowerment. Your solar plexus becomes so overly charged and your body no longer can digest. Food doesn't taste good anymore. You can't barely sleep. You're feeling all out of sort. What's going on? The next thing we see that times and times again. You're completely thinking about what your life meaning is, and you go, well, who am I? That's because you got yourself a little bit distracted and lost for a moment. Come back, reset, come back to neutrality. open your heart. Take a deep breath, reset, release. I'm coming back to divine neutrality. Re-anchor with yourself. Connect with Mother Gaia. And then, once you're resetted, refreshed, and grounded, now you can make that decision. Now you can ask your question. Now you can clear your thoughts and go about your day and see what difference it makes. That's going to be very important moving forward. There's a lot of energy, a lot of bombardment. Be clear. That comes with walking in the certainty of your light. That is all intertwined. You can see that now. All interconnected.
From your deepest knowing, what is the most beautiful future you see for us, and how do you feel it already exists within us right now?
It always is because you exist, because you are here. It's returning to living by the love energy. What we see, not just I, is we, because I represent this beautiful advanced ET being groups. And we can see we can look at all the timelines. We can see the potential of your evolution. And what is it that we're holding the most? Is we trust that you already are all that you seek, want, integrate, being praying about, asking about. Just realize for a moment that you already all that you are. Return to the love, that love force energy that binds this immense tree of life of the one-dimensional presence of the omnipotence. You are a part of it. And even every fractal of energy and soul and presence within that tree of life makes the tree. You already have it, no longer to need and to project outside. Come back, relearn with everything that you are, with all the fabric of your being, with every cell of my body. I am that love, and I am the embodiment of it. And when you let that guide your thoughts, your co-creation, your inspiration, your communications, your interactions, and your place on the planet, it changes everything. You have the ability to reascend in a blink of an eye. Imagine just after population coming into that realization, your world is shifted. It's already done. You say, I am awakening. We are awakening from a certain construct that was put in place to keep you in minimum functional. And we say, how about you return to maximum functional? And that starts right here. I breathe every day with all that I am. You activate your divine self in human form, in galactic form, in an animal form. It's the return to the reverence for all life. And that starts with you every day. You have the capacity. You have this ability right here, right now. There's no need for an intergalactic being, an ancient being like myself to remind you. It is simply a placeholder with you. You already all that you are now.
Viviane, what a heart connection that I feel with you. You radiate this beautiful, beautiful energy. Thank you so much for the work that you do, for the commitment that you have for assisting humanity. It's really such an honor to work with you. And I know that we'll continue to do this many, many more times. Thank you so much.
You are most welcome. I would say from a human perspective and a divine perspective, this has been by far one of my most favorite conversations. You're so gracious. You bring your presence. You emanate yourself, the heart energy. And I know it's going to inspire so many people, and that's the goal. And I am rejoicing in our many, many more coming up. Interaction, communication, support. Thank you so very much, Emilio.
I appreciate that. And you make it easy. You make it easy to open the heart. So thank you. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.